Hey guys, Freddy here. Welcome back to another modern magazine thing. Because I was out at my local shop once again and spotted Dungeons & Dragons Adventurer once more. This time issue number 24. Now, I'm still totally shocked that this shop keeps getting them. It's my local shop, 5 minutes walk from my house, where I go to get bread, milk, butter, that kind of stuff. And they have a small magazine section. So why this place, out of all the place in the fairly large market town I live, gets this magazine, I don't know. I can only guess that somebody put in a subscription and only picks up some of the issues. Or perhaps the staff put them on the shelves and I picked them up before the person who subscribed did. I don't know. But when I see a Dungeons & Dragons magazine 5 minutes walk from my house, I'm going to pick it up, even if I wasn't really wanting to get any more of these. Now, my impression of this magazine, we'll go through it on the desktop in a wee second in more detail, but this one's quite disappointing. The adventure's a bit lackluster, the contents aren't that great, we're just moving on to third level, and while the dice are kind of interesting, they're not fantastic. But anyway, let's have a look at Dungeons & Dragons Adventurer, issue number 24. So, this is Dungeons & Dragons Adventurer issue 24. Now let's get rid of the bag, because it's very shiny and gets in the way of the camera. So, let's chuck it to the side. Inside, we've got the magazine itself, which actually feels kind of beefy compared to usual ones. We've got this piece of red card, which confused me for a while, but we'll come to that in a second. And this week, we've got some dice. Now, these are slightly fancier than the usual ones. Also slightly bigger. The usual size of dice, so comparing one of the D10s that they've given us before, it's just a little bit bigger. It obviously isn't as big as the really fancy ones that they've given us before, but they're a bit more chunky. They feel quite heavy in the hand, which is quite nice, although they do feel very plasticky and fragile, way more so than these smaller ones, which is kind of odd. Now, while I like them being bigger, the fact that the numbers aren't as readable, really, is something I'm not keen on. While it works on these big dice, the ornateness of these makes them a little hard to read, especially across a game table, you know, when you're rolling in front of other people. Oh, I just noticed the 6 on the D6 is the Dungeons & Dragons ampersand. It's not a 6. Quite fancy, quite nice. Not as impressed as I was by this, which impressed the hell out of me and I still love. Now, as I said, we've got the magazine and I've got this red card, which I was confused as because I thought it was just a piece of backing card to hold the magazines flat and wondered why they hadn't printed anything on it. But then I noticed it does unfold. And we've got a rather nice map of the Sword Coast. So we've got Baldur's Gate here, Neverwinter up there. It's quite nice. Very ornate, the Anorak Desert there. I can see that being very useful. And it's a nice thing to get with it. Now the magazine itself. As I said, it feels heavier and thicker than previous issues. And we'll come to why that is. So, inside we've got character creation. Master of Disguise. Not everyone has to appear in the Forgotten Realms, and there are many benefits to being a great pretender. So it's talking about being a master of disguise, disguise kits, the disguise spell, other methods, role-playing your disguise. And then we're on to sections for third level, because characters have finally leveled up to third. After 24 issues, we're up to third level, which is nice. I find it a bit annoying that means by the time you get to 20th level, you're going to be up to, what, issue 200 and something? They're really not rushing you up through the levels at all. Anyway, we've got the various bard features, barbarian features for third level, druid features for third level, paladin features for third level. Then we've got a section on locations. So we've got Candlekeep here. A nice little map of it there, but not too much information. Visiting Candlekeep, the Avowed, the different people within the city. And the monster this week is a Chul, giant underdark crab creatures. Goes through the Guardians of Ancient Ruins, Primeval Origins. And then we're on to the encounter. And I thought, wow, we've still got lots and lots of pages to go here. Perhaps we're getting a full adventure. No, if anything, this is the worst adventure they've published. Basically, the setup of it is a Chul has gone into one of the lakes within Neverwinter itself. And the players respond to Monster Slayers needed. Man-eating monster swims in the blue lake. 400 gold pieces rewarded on proof of death. Now, there's lots of information on approaching it. There's a suspicious observer. There's treasure. But really, the monster hunt. The characters can only find the Chul after dark when it emerges to hunt. They can lure it out by rowing a boat into the lake. Otherwise, they're alerted to it by the dying wail of a Neverwinterian commoner seized in its claws. And that's the hunt. It's one paragraph. The rest of it's going to be a fight against the monster. They don't need to find out why it got brought here, although there's information on that, and there's a wizard. If they kill the wizard who was watching them, some cultists approach them disguised as guards. There's this extra stuff to it. But if the players just ignore the wizard and just fight the monster and get their reward, that's it. One paragraph. It's terrible. A single combat. We've got the stat block for the Chul, various characters here, spells, cultist, and we're over. And we've still got some pages left, because they're now giving us 3rd level character sheets. So, what have we got here? Karkoth Hivarax, a dragonborn barbarian soldier. Ekrin Tripletoll, a forest gnome bard. I do like the wee pieces of artwork. They're nice. They give you some background information, but not a huge amount. Just the traits and things. Zugan Shanoni, a wood elf druid. Oshug Bagok, an orc paladin. Shouldn't that be half orc? Can you play full orcs? I don't remember. Anyway, it's an orc paladin, and that's it. That's all that they provide you with in this issue. Now, the dice, as I said, they're decent. They do feel a little plasticky, and I don't find them very readable. So I'm not keen on those dice. It's a very nice map indeed. But basically everything else is just about leveling up to 3rd level. Which is handy if all you're going from is this magazine. If you haven't got Player's Handbook. Yes, there's some nice stuff in here, but there's nothing really to make anybody think. The adventure's absolute trash. But I suppose if you wanted, there are some throwaway 3rd level characters. It's terrible for the money. I have to say, this has been the biggest letdown issue I've seen. Very disappointing. The dice don't make up for it. I raved over the dice last time, even though I was kind of disappointed by the magazine. But the magazine's nasty. The dice aren't that great. Although, does a very pretty map of the Sword Coast make up to it for you? I don't know. I don't think so. So that was Dungeons & Dragons Adventurer issue number 24. Now, as I said, I'm not terribly impressed with that issue. The adventure's very weak. The subject matter's not that interesting, especially if you've got a player's handbook and you know how to level characters already. There's just not a lot to get your teeth into. There's an interesting map with it. The dice are okay, but they are cheap feeling. So I was very, very disappointed by this one. Especially going with that cover price of £8.99. That's a lot of money for not a lot of content, I'm afraid. Now, as usual, this isn't something I would normally pick up. By this point, I'm definitely convinced that Dungeons & Dragons Adventure is not worth the money to me. But if I keep seeing it at my local shop, 5 minutes walk from my house, that convenient, I'm probably going to keep picking it up, because I'm a sucker for role-playing game material. So, once again, I'm unsure whether this series is going to go on, whether I'm going to cover any more issues. It's down to the random nature of whether I see any on the shop shelves. And it seems like I probably will now, but who can tell? But anyway, I think I've whittled on for quite long enough as usual. So thank you very much for watching. But as always, most of all, you look after yourselves. And I'll catch you later. Bye now.